Hello and welcome to the 12th lecture of second chapter of Comprehensive Data Science, Machine Learning and Artificial Intelligence course. Now, in previous lecture we did this thing, various string operation, concatenation, repetition, finding the length of the string, slicing a string, indexing and so on. And remember, they are very important. So please, if you have not done them, then you should do them and make more practice of those kinds of things. Now here, we start with perhaps the most important thing in Python or any programming language, because the purpose of a programming language is not to write this kind of simple one-liners, but it is to embed some logic in your program. And the logic is embedded in two manners. One by using control statements and another by using loops, and the third is by using functions. So here we want to start that topic. First we will take only one thing, control statements. So in Python there are three these keywords: if, elif. Elif actually stands for else if, but if you write else if, then interpreter will throw error. So always write elif and else. And how this statement works? Then this is how it works. First, let us take simple if else statement, and this is the flow chart. Initially start with some input. Say input A is 1, then test some condition. This kind of rhombus is for a conditional statement. So here we test the condition if A equals 1. Equals means that this is a comparison operator. So it compares if LHS and RHS both evaluates to same value. But my A is already 1, so obviously this will evaluate to true. Then this flowchart shows that if the statement evaluates to true, then go on this path. That means body of if statement will be executed. Okay, and it will print what? It will print that A is equal to 1. But suppose here input is A is 3 or any other number than 1. Then condition if A equals 1 would be false. In that case, the logic will flow this path, and the body of that else loop would be else portion, else block would be A is not equal to 1. So that will be printed. Okay. So this is one very simple example of if else. Let us take one other example here. Say x is equal to 10, and here if x is greater than 5, then print x is greater than 5. Else. Remember, whenever you write any if statement or any else statement, then it must be followed by this colon. If you remember that, then Python interpreters will automatically provide the indentation. So you don't have to remember that indentation. So here else, then I will write print x is not greater than 5. And this will be, let us check. So, I have mixed up the codes. I can use double quote or single quote both in Python, but I cannot use both in same statement. So if x is greater than 5, then print x is greater than 5. Now here I took x is equal to 10, so obviously the logic will enter here and this statement will be printed because this condition is evaluated to true. But if that condition is evaluated to false, then this statement will be evaluated, that is x is not greater than 5. Let us check. Say if I put x is equal to 3 and re-execute it, then it will print x is not greater than 5. Now one important thing which you should remember about this else is that you can simply altogether avoid that else statement, and you can then avoid the indentation here also. So in that case, it is clear that if this condition is satisfied, then this is the if block. So this will execute. But else statement is not written, but this means that I have already come out of if block. So if this condition is not satisfied, for example here it is not satisfied, 3 is not greater than 5, then x is not greater than 5. This will also work exactly in same manner. You can see that. So else is not compulsory. That is what I want to say. But if you are finding it difficult, then you should write it. And that indentation, sometimes you just make a backspace so that everything comes in one line, and then again press enter. Then the indentation will automatically be added, and that is also same. So else is actually not a compulsory statement. You can put everything in outside the loop without indentation. Okay. Now then this if elif. Now sometimes you want to evaluate multiple conditions. That if condition 1 is satisfied, true, then execute this set of function. This is the body of that if function. If that is false, first condition is not satisfied, then again evaluate some other condition, and then if that is true, then this will execute the body of that elif function, and if that is false, then that will execute the body of else function. Okay, so this is how it is. This is, I think we have already done it. If and elif, this is by mistake, it is getting repeated, so I am deleting that. But for example, multiple if else statement, yes, here it is. Okay, so here it is given that x is equal to 1, so we start with some input. If x is greater than 5, then print this. So if first condition is satisfied, then the body of first if, so body of first if is this. Okay, but if it is not satisfied, in my case it will not be satisfied, it will be false. So in that case I will go to another condition. Elif x is greater than 3. So I am checking another condition. Okay, it is not greater than 5, but is it greater than 3? So elif x is greater than 3. But here even that is false. So even that is false, then the body of else would be printed. So x is 1 or less. Okay, that is what it will show. It should be, I think, 2 or less, because or even if I write 2, 3 or less, sorry. If it is greater than 3, then it will print that it is greater than 3, but otherwise it should print that it is 3 or less. It is not greater than 5, it is not greater than 3, so it is 3 either or less. Okay, so that is what this statement would give. Okay, let us check it. So x is 3 or less, but if I put some number which is greater than 5, say x is 8, and in that case the very first condition will be evaluated to true, this is condition. So the body of if will be executed that x is greater than 5. Okay, so x is greater than 5. If I put maybe 4, or I can put, okay, 4. So now what will happen? First this condition will be checked, that if x is greater than 5, so I am getting that that condition is false, x is not greater than 5. Okay, so that means it will go to the false direction of the logic, and here elif condition is there. So elif x is greater than 3, so yes, that is satisfied. So true condition, so body of elif will be executed. So x is greater than 3, so that is what it will be printed. Okay, let us check it. X is greater than 3, and suppose I write x is equal to 2 or any other number which is not greater than 3, then it will execute this else part, because even the second condition is evaluated to false, then the body of else is executed. Okay, so this is how if, elif and else can work in Python. Now the elif can go on and on for any number of conditions. So here I can add one more elif after this, then here I can add one more elif, and so on. That thing is called the elif ladder. So something like this. If condition 1 is satisfied, true, then the body of if statement will be executed. But if it is false, then the second condition will be checked. Elif, the first elif will be checked. If it is true, then the body of that first elif will be executed. If even the second condition is false, then third condition would be checked, and so on and so on and so forth until nth condition is checked. If that is also false, then the body of else statement will be executed. But if second condition is true, then body of second elif. If third condition is true, then body of third elif. If fourth condition is true, then body of fourth elif, and so on. Okay, so that is called elif ladder. Here you can write like this: if my marks is less than 35, then sorry, you failed the exam. If my marks is greater than 60, and my marks is greater than 100, greater than 60 and less than 100, of course, marks greater than 100 would be a big scandal. Okay, so then passed in first class, and else means your marks are so here many more elif ladders would be required actually if it is less than 35. So now here I will write elif my underscore marks, sorry, greater than or equal to 35, and my underscore marks less than or equal to 60, less than 60, I would say. Then when you write colon, immediately indentation is automatically added. So print pass class. So I am saying that the institute has decided that anybody who gets above 35 marks but less than 60%, he will just be awarded pass. He will not be awarded any class. Okay. That if my marks is greater than 60, but if my marks are less than or equal to maybe 74, then in that case it is first class. Suppose the institute has decided that above 70% will be first class, and if that is also so, this condition is also evaluated to false. So then in that case it is clear that the person has marks which are greater than 74. So that is 75 or more than 75%. So in that case, suppose the institute has decided that above 75% people will be first class with distinction. Okay, so that is how it is. Now it is 95. So 90. So the first if condition will be false because marks are not less than 30. So this will be skipped. This will not execute. Now this second elif condition, even that is false. Marks less than 60. So here they are 90. So even this will be skipped. Now this elif condition. So then marks less than or equal to 74. Even that is wrong. Okay, these marks are 90. So even this will be skipped. So what else remains? The body of else loop will be okay executed. So this should print passed in first class with distinction, and it is printing that. Okay. Now if I change the mark, say if I make mark 31, so obviously that fellow has just failed. Okay. So sorry, you failed the exam. Then if I write marks 55, okay, and in that case, so pass, you got pass class. Then if I write mark, so that means first condition in that case would be false. So this will not execute. But second condition or the body of the very first elif will be evaluated as true. Okay, so the body of first elif would be executed. But suppose I write mark is 68. So in that case, first condition is evaluated as false. Skip this. Second is also evaluated as false. Skip this. Third is evaluated as true because this 68 is less than or equal to 74. Okay, so in that case, 75 actually, up to 74 is correct rather. Okay. So then in that case, the person has passed in first class. So let us check. You got first class. And suppose I write any mark which is more than 75 or 75 borderline case, then institute decided that 75 or more would be first class with distinction. So you got first class with distinction. Okay. Now in other programming languages, to handle this type of case, those who are coming from other programming language, they know that there is another statement called switch case default. But in Python, such a structure does not exist. Recently they have added it, but still it is a kind of not very popular. So mostly this elif ladder is only used to check multiple conditions. Okay. Now nested elif. So this is one example of it. Say number is 7. Nested elif means what? If first condition is correct, then there is immediately no body. There can be body also, but there is no immediately body. Immediately inside that first if block, there is another condition which is put. Okay, and that another condition is also supposed correct. Then the body of that will be executed. Otherwise, something which is executed, something which is here, that would be executed. So it will be like this: say print number is less than 0. That would be executed because number is not equal to 0 that you have already checked. So if number greater than 0, then this would be executed. Else this would be executed. And if this outer if condition itself is false, so then also something can be put here. So that will be executed. Okay. So that means else. Remember I told you that else is actually not required at all. You can just write something without indentation. So that would be the else. That will work just like the else block. Okay. So if number is not equal to 0, that itself is false. That means number is 0. So in that case, you will print number is 0. Okay. And let us write it. Let us execute that. So number is greater than 0. Okay. Now because my number was 7. So what is happening? First this condition is evaluated. If number is not equal to 0. So here 7 is not equal to 0. So if this condition is true, so I am entering inside. But inside, before any block prints something, immediately next condition comes. If it is not equal to 0, that means it can be a positive or negative number. So I am checking if number is greater than 0. So here that condition is correct. So therefore I am getting result of this block, and this block will be simply skipped. Okay, this will also be simply skipped because my if condition has itself evaluated to true. So whatever is inside the if block, that will be executed. But suppose this number is say -3, and if I execute this again, so in that case, first if condition is still true, but now this if condition is false, and if it is false, then this block will be skipped, and instead of that, this else block will be executed. Number is less than 0. So that is what you are getting here. Now if I say number is 0 itself, so then in that case what will happen? Very first if condition will evaluate to false. So then this entire thing inside that if, that would be skipped. So control will straight away come here else, because my number is equal to 0. So this will evaluate to false, and therefore control comes here in the else. Print number is 0. Let us check number is 0. Okay. So this is how this nested if else statement works. Nested means inner if else is nested inside outer if and else block. Else block for that writing else is not compulsory, that I have shown, but still once again. Okay. So you can see that you get still number is 0. Okay. Fine. Now this is yet another example, and here I have given the flowchart also. But in the flowchart, these print statements are slightly not proper, so that I have corrected here. Okay. So a equals 1. Now first I am checking if a modulo 2 equals 0. What does this modulo operator do? We have done the arithmetic operator, so we know that modulo operator finds the remainder of division. So that means if this number a divided by 2 equals 0. Now what numbers will give remainder 0? If a is equal to 2, then 2 divided by 2 is 0. If a is equal to 4, then 4 divided by 2, that is 2, but the remainder is still 0. That means any number which is wholly divisible by 2, that will give remainder 0. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and so on, even numbers. So this condition is actually checking if number is even, okay? And if the number is even, then in that case, we check further if it is greater than 1 or and less than 10. So that means we are checking that it is in this closed interval. This is not the list of Python, but this is the mathematical symbol for the closed interval. Closed interval means this 2 is included in it, 9 is included in it, and all numbers between 2 and 9, they are also included in it. So if it is greater than 1, so it may start from 2, and it is less than 10, so that means 10 will not be included in it, 9 will be included. But further, we have already earlier said that this whole loop will enter only if the number is even. So I should write both things, that a is an even number and a is in this closed interval. But suppose this inner if condition is not satisfied, that means it is false, then this will be skipped. So this will be skipped means I will enter else block. So in that case, a is still an even number because outer if condition is satisfied. That's how I am entering this block, otherwise I would not have entered this block. So a is even number, but a is not in this 2 to 9 because here a is less than 10, that is, and a is greater than 1. This condition is not satisfied. So it is not in this closed interval. It is possible that it is 1 or 0 or minus 1 or something less than 2, or it may be 10 or 11 and something. So 10 or more. 11 it will not be because it must be even number. Okay, so it will be any even number, maybe less than 2, or any even number greater 10 or greater than 10. Okay, that is what is the meaning of this block. But suppose the very first condition is not satisfied, that means whenever any number is given and if I divide it by 2 and the remainder is 0, that is false. So remainder is not 0. When this will happen? If this is an odd number, for example, say this is a is equal to 5, then 5 modulo 2. That is, first you have to mentally do 5 divided by 2. So 2 2s are 4 and 1 remainder remains. So that means remainder is 0 will evaluated to false. Same thing will happen for all odd numbers. So this condition will be true for even numbers and this condition will be false for odd numbers. So if it is an odd number, then this condition is simply false. So this whole block will be skipped, and for odd number we will just write a is not an even number. Okay, so I hope that this is clear. Now here the same thing is there, input but by a flowchart. Input a is equal to 1. First we are checking the condition, this rhombus red color, that is this if condition. Condition if a modulo 2 equals 0. So then in that case we are checking if the number is even. If it is true, if the number is even, then we are checking second condition. If it is greater than 1 and less than 10, that means if it is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9. Okay. If that also evaluates to true, then this would be printed, that the body of that inner if would be printed. That print a is an even number. Now that is what I was saying, that this is not very correct. It is divisible by 2, that is true, but and it is in this the closed interval. Okay. But if this evaluates to false, then in that case, I can print here a is an even number, that is true, because here this evaluates to true, that's why I have entered this whole block, but it is not in this closed interval. So it may be minus 4, or it may be 0 or minus 2, minus 4, minus 6, or it may be on this side 10, 12, because it is an even number, but it can be less than 2 or greater than 9. Okay. But if the outer if itself is false, so then here this is that outer if test expression. Condition is if a modulo 2 equals 0. So it is checking if a is an even number. If it is not an even number, then it will print that a is not an even number. That is, it is not divisible by 2. Okay. So if I take different values of a, first let me just put maybe a is equal to 5. So I am taking an odd number. So this would be evaluated to false, and this whole thing will be skipped. So in that case, a is not an even number. Directly I go to this. But if I put a equals 4, now in that case, first will evaluate to true. So I will enter this block, but inside as soon as I enter there is another if condition, nested if condition. It checks that if the number is greater than 1 or less than 10. Okay. So yes, it is greater than 1 and it is less than 10. So that means this condition is true. So this if block will be executed. So this should be printed. Let us check. A is in even number and this other one should not be printed. I think, okay, it should be like this. So now you can say that here I have added this else statement. So a is even number and a is in 2 to 9. That's why I insist. So some programmers say that else is not mandatory and all that. But sometimes it is okay. For example, in one case I showed earlier that even if you don't write else, it is fine. But at least I will insist that it makes things more clear and readability is more important. We have seen the Zen of Python. Okay. So a is an even number because I have taken 4. So this would be condition is satisfied, and then inside this condition is also satisfied. So I should get this, and I'm getting this. But if I get somewhere like maybe 14, so a number which is much more than 10, so then still 14 is also even number, and its modulo division will give remainder 0. So I am entering this block, whole block. Now as soon as I enter, I encounter another if condition, but that if condition is evaluated to false. That is clear. Okay. So in that case, this will be skipped, but else part will be executed. A is even number, but it is not in 2 to 9. And suppose I take a number, say minus 40. Then also same thing would happen. It is even number, so this will be evaluated to true. I will enter here. But is it greater than 1 and less than 10? No, it is much less than 1. It is even less than 0. So neither this will be printed, and therefore only this choice is remaining. So A is even number, but it is not in this thing. That is this close interval 2 to 9. Okay. And suppose I take a number, say 7, and then I write again. So in that case, it is clear that this first itself will be evaluated to false. Remainder of 7 divided by 2. So 2 3s are 7. 2 3s are 6, and 1 remainder will remain. So this evaluates to false. This everything is skipped. This everything will be skipped. So this else would be come into control will come to else, and if you will get A is not even number. Okay. So I hope that this makes clear what is meant by the nested if else statement. Okay. Now we will in next lecture we will do this defining and calling function and understanding scopes and parameters in Python. That is also a very important part. So please don't miss